All right, ladies and gentlemen, today I have Mr. Frank Meeink. Frank is a native of Philadelphia. So I discovered Frank about 2013, 2014 when Lindsay, my wife, bought his book for me, which I'm going to let him tell a little bit more about. Great time to have you, Frank, and thanks for coming on to the show, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And yeah, it is what a crazy time to be talking about race and racism, right?
Yeah, so I didn't actually seek you out at this time specifically because of what's going on, but it's kind of funny how things work out in the timing, like you said. But yeah, man. So I'll let you carry on a little bit about it and tell people kind of about your journey and your story. But I bought your book in 2014. My wife bought it for me actually. Really inspired me. I read it and. Like all my books, I actually don't have it anymore. I usually read and give away, and I can't even remember who I gave that to. But that's just kind of what I do. I pass it along, and I'm a big autobiography fan. And to be honest, Lindsay saw your book at Barnes and Noble at the front section, which means it was probably selling really well, and I really loved it. And you and I had connected shortly after that throughout the years, and so I've kind of followed your stuff since then. So kind of tell the people your story and a little bit more about your book, and maybe they can read that and be inspired too.
Absolutely. And before we get started, you might hear some chirping in the background. That's my finches, and I kind of have birds now. So if you hear them, if they bother you, because some people will say they bother you, but just know they're just birds being birds, right? You gotta let birds be birds.
Yeah, man, they're
You
kind
gotta
of
let
peaceful.
humans be humans, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So look, I was born and raised in a rough neighborhood in Philadelphia, and it's back and forth between my mom and my dad. Not wanted by either. Both had married and got tried to move on with drug addiction, home lives with other partners now, and I just didn't fit into their equation, and I just got thrown around a lot and beat up a lot and smacked around a lot, and wound up like going to an all black school in the middle of my seventh grade year. I was 13. Should have been like an eighth, but I had me in seventh still. And they shipped me to a new school, which was an all black school in Southwest West Philly, and called Pepper Middle School. And they closed that school now. And it was just hell. It was hell to go to school every day. I mean, I can't hide that from anyone. I can't say it in any other nicer way than a 13-year-old kid who's a punk rock skater kid to get transferred in the middle of the school year to a new school, let alone an all black school. Um, I mean, there was like maybe 1,000, 1,300 students or something there. It was a lot. And seriously, there was maybe 20 white people, not 20%, just 20 of us. And joining in the new year, I joined to try out for all sports teams at the school. And of course, I make it. I'm an athlete. I mean, I naturally will make it on any team. An athletic person, who any coach would love to have. So they put me on this baseball team for Pepper Middle School, which has been an all black baseball team for years. Here comes this new white punk rock skater looking kid who's good. But the team didn't like me. I mean, they were very proud that they were an all black school or an all black baseball team. And they won the city championship like 5 years in a row or something. Right now, here I come. So I'm like the reverse Jackie Robinson. And everyone just freaking hates my guts. And I just played and did what I had to do. But I just got my beat up, got jumped a bunch. There's times where, man, this turtling was the only option you had, and I mean, but other than that, I mean, I could throw my hands. I'm good. I know how to eat with my hands, as they say. So that summer, I move away from the city. I get up to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. My cousin's into this neo-Nazi thing. Just to fast forward it, these neo-Nazi guys, they were 16, 17-year-old boys, but to me, they were older. I was a 13-year-old. Hung out with these neo-Nazis who grew up around Amish people. And they would sit around and talk about black people, and they had no idea what they were saying. But I just remember they would say silly things, but I just remember being like, oh, that's not, what are you talking about? But what happened is every night these guys would get drunk and they would hand me a beer and let me drink with them. And then they'd always be like, so what's it like? Tell us what's it like to live around black people, basically. And they would probably wouldn't use the word black. I used the N word. And because they couldn't fathom. When my cousin said to them, yo, like my little cousin here is just moving up from the city. He was in a really rough neighborhood. They were fascinated by that. And they would sit around and they would talk to me all the time. Like there was one girl one time who sat around, tried to call me out one day. She was the older, like, hot girl of our group. She was like the queen bee. Like, we couldn't have other girls around because she was the queen bee of us. But I remember she tried to call me out one day, and she said, "So you're gonna tell me you take the bus with black people every day?" You know? I'm like, "Yeah, chick. I mean, I gotta take the L train. Like, of course I do, right?" I'm like, let's flip that around. Let me sit her down and say, "So let me tell you. Let me ask you something. You see Amish people every day, right? Because she's seen Amish people every day. Those guys just having me around and being around them, and going to nightclubs with them, and seeing how people feared them. I love them. You know, I absolutely loved when people feared them. I mean, you gotta know that I might be a 14-year-old, a 13 going on 14-year-old athletic kid, but I'm a scared little boy. I mean, I have had no development at all. I mean, I've been passed around. I'm a burden, and I fear everything. I fear my parents. I fear my step parents. I fear my school. I fear if I was going to have enough food to eat today. I mean, I was on welfare a lot when I was a kid, right? I was embarrassed of that stuff. These neo-Nazi guys start to tell me, to come join them, and I wanted to join them. I get it. I was just fist fighting with black kids every day at school. I kind of get a little bit about what they're talking about. But I'll tell you this: the little things, like things that you hear growing up. I remember I used to always hear this thing from my uncles and older cousins and people that it's racist, but it was just neighborhood racist stuff. I would always hear stuff like, "Oh, Johnny tried to Jew me today." I never got the stupid joke. Like, I never, when I was a kid, everyone would laugh at it. And I was the younger guy, so I'd always be like, "What does that mean?" I asked Uncle one day, so what does that mean? Johnny Jewed me today. He always just started telling me, he starts to kind of break it down to me where he goes, "Well, the Jews are kind of notorious for money, and Frank, you'll get the joke when you're older. It's really funny when you're older. You'll get the joke." I was at my first neo-Nazi meeting. I heard the neo-Nazis talking about how the Jews in Israel secretly run the Federal Reserve, and they siphon off money to start the war against the Palestinians. It's our money, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to tell you in that minute, in that time of them telling me that story, it unlocked the joke in my head. You remember, my uncle said, when I'm older, I would get it. Must be older. I joined that group, and I wholeheartedly, 100% believe in everything that I learned in that group. I believe that because of the color of my skin, I am superior than other people on this planet. I know that sounds really dumb when I say it now because of the way I say it, but the way I would have put it to you years ago was that I was proud of my heritage, I'm proud of my people, and I want a great life for my white children, right? That's what I would have said back then. Really, here's the whole tone of what we really believe. Because of the color of my skin, I'm superior to you. I'm going to tell you that anyone that believes in a group because of the color of your skin, no matter what group, what color, you believe in because of the color of your skin that you are better than people, that you are superior than people. I'm going to tell you right now that you are the most laziest person in the world. You've done nothing to achieve that goal. Your parents just happen to be the same color. Now you came out that color. You did nothing. You had no. You go out and get a degree to become a white supremacist, or a black supremacist. You didn't go out and help the world in any way to become part of this group, not help society in any way to join these groups. You are only hanging your hat on one thing that you had nothing to do with at all. It's very lazy, and it's just very fear-based. It's very fear-based thought process. And once you have a fear-based thought process, it only leads to bad things, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I become this huge neo-Nazi. I get all into it. I recruit people. I changed. I changed after 5 years. I went to prison. I kidnapped people, got arrested for murder, all this stuff while I was in the movement. I started my own TV show for the movement. I was a little spokesperson. These are all facts. These aren't. And I'll tell you that playing football in prison, my lowest points in my life, I started to play football with some of the black kids from Chicago, and I was a Philly kid in the Chicago prison system. These kids had seen I was good, and they just kind of let me start playing. Kind of talked. This is where the whole American History X thing, like I played basketball in there, I played football in there. I was the youngest, highest ranking neo-Nazi at the time. Like, I was second in command of all these big bikers, right? Or I was a little Aryan with a TV show on the outside. So for people to think, like, why would I be a big swastika on my neck at 15 years old, but by 17 I'm doing prison time after having my own TV show for the neo-Nazis. So I had this little clout when I get there. The bikers never talked about what I wanted to talk about. They were all like, older bikers from Illinois. And I've never been on a Harley in my life. And when the black kids would talk about being on an L train, football, any of those things, I kind of related because that's still eventually where I came from. And I just wanted to be a kid, and I was locked down in a maximum security prison with John Wayne Gacy in there with us, you know? So,
Oh wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
um, but the change didn't happen in prison. Like, these people just became my friends. I'm still an Aryan. I'm still going to do the Aryan gang thing. I didn't feel change coming. I could see it. I wasn't feeling it. I just thought, look, I'm doing time, doing my prison time. I'll get out of this. I'll be. Um, Obviously, when you play sports with people and you become boys kind of with them, and they start picking up for me when people would cheap shot. I got cheap shot at every shot. I was this little white, less welcome wide receiver in there who would get my head ripped off, but I always got back up, right? And at the time, the big white wide receiver was Steve Largent. So all the black kids used to call me Steve. So all the white guys in my gang, when we walked down the cell block or something, all the black kids would be like, "What's up, Steve?" I'm like, "What's up?" And they're like, "Why do they call you Steve?" That's for Steve Largent, the little football player. Um, Released from prison, I'm not finding much work. I have a swastika on my neck. I got tattoos all on my head. I got tattoos on my hands. I have aggravated kidnapping already on my adult record, even though I was charged and convicted at the age of 17, which was probably right. They probably should have. I was, off the rails. And I came home to Philadelphia out of prison from Chicago. I had a daughter in Chicago. I was trying to see her, and they didn't want me back in the state of Illinois. It's just what it was. I'm back in Philly, and I'm trying to find job prospects, and I can't find any because of my situation I put myself in. Then a Jewish man gave me a job working at Joe. He just became one of these amazing men in my life. He just became a mentor to me, and it came gradually. Just happened over time, where this man would show me about the antique business. He would say things to me that no one had ever said to me before. Like if I made a mistake, and I always go, "Oh, I'm so stupid," but my family always go, "Yeah, you're an idiot." Like that's just a common. Make a mistake. God punished you. They always say. My house was very big with that word. God punished you whenever you mess up. God really always wants to punish us. That's what they thought. I don't believe in that process anymore, but that's how it was growing up. And so anyway, trying to get this job, and this Jewish guy gives me this job, and I broke a table one day, and the way I always was like, "Oh, Keith, I'm so stupid. I'm so sorry." And this Jewish man came over to me and said, "Stop saying you're stupid, you fucking idiot. You're one of the smartest people I've ever met." And one of the moments in my life where I had to choose. I still believe, because by this time I'd already started having beliefs about the neo-Nazi stuff, that it wasn't all right. I had so much clout in that organization that I was willing to let go of the black hatred, the Latino hatred, all the minority hatred. But I was just going to focus it all on the Jews anyway. When I got out of prison, I thought that was the bigger enemy. Here's a Jewish man who gives me the only one who gives me a job. He's telling me how smart I am. He always paid me. He always paid me right. He was a good, honest man who destroyed the last stereotype of me. Where God kept putting people in my life all the time. Be like, "Who are you to judge, Frank? You're at the bottom of the rung here if you want to judge. If you want to judge human beings, Frank, look at you. Look what you've done." So I got clean with that. I got straight with that. I changed my beliefs. I mean, I had to. People think, can people really change? There are men and women in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous. The 12-step programs have changed millions upon people. So everyone can change. They say there's only about 7% of the human race that cannot change their mental capacity. I think everyone else can change. Everything can happen if you get to a higher power anyway. So I changed, and not that I just changed. I didn't want to be one of these guys who goes around and just says, "Look at me, I changed." I went around and I built a hockey program with the Philadelphia Flyers. I've done things to try to get more kids into active sports because I knew that's what kept me out of it, and it also can help teach race when you teach a team sport. I've been wildly successful with that. I went on just to coach regular hockey for years and won 10 national championships, coached for, X amount of years, kids from 6 to 17. I've coached through championships and tournaments and all around the country. And so I've been successful. I worked in pro hockey for a long time. I had an ESPN radio show for a long time. I've been successful when I want to be. Now that's all on void. I'm going to take what the knowledge that I have to bring it up to today's world. What we have going on in this country right now. This is where people have to listen. The story's all great. What it makes of me have that I had grit plus grace, which just equals service to others. Okay, so that's all I got with my life. So put all the rest of my life to the side and just listen to the knowledge of the anti-venom of racism. Because I used to spit the venom, now I have the anti-venom in me. Here's how it works. What's going on with the police and the protesters today? I am a diehard protester right now. I go every day, and I'm going to continue. And we are going to go every day. The police department has woken the sleeping giant of the American people, and they're not going back to sleep. Here's how we're going to fix this problem, and we're going to fix it. We can fix it immediately. People will get on board, but here's the deal. Police, who are civil servants, and we all got to remember, wrote up and chain of democracy, or they are civil servants, and they are supposed to be beneath us. There's special lobbyist groups, and there's union, and there are weapons manufacturing lobbyist groups, and there are car manufacturing lobbyist groups that build police cars, and all those people all have lobbyists. In that time, it pulled. There are special interest groups, and the laws have pulled our civil servants above us. Here's the proof. You could say that's not true. It's 100% the truth. And here's the fact. The proof is in the American pudding. We have 2.4 million people in prison in this country, far more than anywhere else in the world. You stack China and Russia on each other, both. They still don't even come close to our numbers. We have private prisons being built, and our active private prisons, and please don't think this is a farce or a hoax. Right outside of Cleveland, Ohio, is a prison that holds 1,600 inmates that is privately owned. There are ones in Texas. There are ones in California. There are ones everywhere that are privately owned prisons. We have fucked up the game. The police and the police department and their unions and the drug laws have violated our Fourth Amendment right and moved them above us in the chain of democracy, and they fucked it up bad. Now the U.S. and the American people have seen it, are awakened, and it's not going away. So the solution is, right now, today, the police commissioners, along with their prosecutors, get together and say, we are not going to serve no more drug warrants right now. It's just what we need to stop, because they use that law to abuse us. So that means no more searching our cars, no more kicking in our fucking doors, keep fake drug-sniffing, false positive dogs away from us, and leave us alone. At least give us a year, and let's figure this thing out, because the police cannot get us sober. Only a higher power can get a human being sober. Police do nothing to deter it except for making it more underground and make it harder for people to get help. So we need the police to step out of the drug game. They lost the war on drugs. They lost it horribly. We are their victims. But now we move that to the side. The people figure out how to fix this problem. The police out of our lives, which they have used over the last 50 years, this war on drugs, to have more weapons above us, especially minorities. White people that have not joined these protests, I want to talk to. How dare us? How dare us get in the life raft for so long and keep that ladder out of the water? It is time for all of us as white people to put that ladder back in the water and get this life boat full. Knock it off. Like, we need to stop thinking it doesn't affect us. 100% affects us, and we need to step up. As white people, I'm talking to all human beings on the planet need to step up to what the police do. As white people, it is time for us to put the ladder back in the water and let everyone get in this fucking life raft with us. That's what we got going on today.
Awesome, man. Good stuff. Yeah, that's interesting. I tried to keep up with some of the things you were going throughout your story, and a topic that I know that you had just discussed. When for the longest time, I did not know that there were a lot of privately owned prisons and corporations that own prisons. That's something I learned probably, I don't know, 3 to 5 years ago, and I think that's an interesting topic, and I'd kind of like to learn more about that and do some more research. And is that something you know about, and kind of how that came into play?
I know all about it. We have. Let me tell you, we have lawmakers who own stock in prisons, and I want to repeat that again. We have lawmakers who own stock in prisons. How insane are we going right now? What kind of slippery slope are we on when we have politicians who make the laws and then also have private prison? We might as well go back to the judges that were putting kids in prison for profit. Remember? There was a whole big movie about it. There's people that were putting kids in juvie halls over the minors' effects, minors' charges. It was in Pennsylvania. They were putting kids rapidly into these little juvenile detention centers for nothing because they were getting kickbacks, and it's still happening to this day. It's still happening to this day. One thing we need to do is we need to get the state should only run the prisons. It should not be for profit. We are feeding the devil when we are saying we're going to keep people in prison and then make money off of it. We are feeding the devil, and God help us if we keep on doing this. That needs to stop immediately. We need all private prisons closed or retaken over by the state so we can monitor our citizens that are inside those prisons, because those private prisons don't let us do it. They do a horrible job of fixing. They do a horrible job of teaching. They do a horrible job of feeding. They do a horrible, because they're trying to cut corners every spot to make money, because it's just a money-making deal, right? These are real estate investors, basically, who are buying what they call storage unit homes. There's people are putting these prisons in just storage. The state of Illinois sends prison people to that state. In Ohio, to that one prison, it just says coming as such and such number storage. You're just storage. And that's got to change right now. But we'll take the war on drugs first. If they came out right now and said that we will stop the war on drugs, and I'm in clean and sober, so I have no effect in that game of being profited from me.
How long have you been sober?
Is that?
How long have you been sober now?
See, year and a half now.
Wow, very nice. So there's a lot of information.
Even when I was relapsing, just so you know, it was. I mean, I got addicted to my Adderall. I mean, I haven't done heroin or anything like that in a long time. Years and years. So, I got really caught up in the addiction game. Again, let me go over something real quick. I keep on going with this.
Yeah.
I can get addicted to Adderall or OxyContin. Not once. People who started the OxyContin epidemic, family, and they were part of it with the Purdue company. And so you could look at it. There's 1,000 documentaries made about these people. They're one of the most richest families in the world, and they were behind the whole epidemic of OxyContin. I'll tell you this, they've never been once pulled over. They've never once had a drug-sniffing dog go around their fucking cars. We've never kicked in their doors looking for why they killed millions of people with OxyContin. But we don't bother with them. We only bother the guy who's selling 6 of them out on the street corner, and now he's got 3-year bit for selling pharmaceutical drugs. I mean, we gotta stop this shit now. It's only fortunate it's only destructive, really, to the minority communities. Is again that war on drugs, because the war on drugs is great for the higher ups because they're making money off it. I'm telling you right now, and if anyone listens to this, and I hope we get 1 million listeners, because the sleeping giant is awake. How great is it? We are awake now. Every day, 10 days now, awake.
Yeah, Frank, I was going to ask you some questions about, so there's a lot of information out there for people who are wanting to make change or do change or really just anything, kind of on some of the topics that you've hit on. What would be some books or documentaries that you would recommend that you're a big fan of that kind of go along with the things that you're trying to practice and preach and change for people who may be interested? I feel like when you Google topics nowadays, we're in an information overload, and there's just so much. So what are some books and things you recommend?
There's a bunch of just really great BBC, and see, because when you say BBC, all the conservatives go, oh, that's too liberal. There's some great documentaries on private prisons. I mean, just Google it. I mean, it's been done underneath our noses for so long, and we just let it happen because you know what? It wasn't affecting. It didn't affect me. It didn't bother me. Okay? But now it does, and now it is. And look, we're not protesting because a cop had his knee on the black dude's neck. We're protesting that he had the power to stay there for 9 minutes, and none of us could stop him. If any of us would have went over there and stopped him from choking that man out, we go to prison for resisting arrest and for assault on an officer, even though we're trying to save our own citizen's life. So there's really nothing. I can just say, just watch the world. And if anyone wants to get involved, You want to get involved, come out of your houses and go to every protest you can. Let the police know that we are done. The citizens are done with the people that have moved above us in the chain of command in this democracy, and they ruined it. They've ruined this democracy. You can't say land of the free with 2.4 million people in prison. You can't say that no more. You can't say the land of the free. We have the most people in prison by far than anyone else in the world. Does anyone understand that? Anyone else in the world? We have more people in prison in the land of the free. Ridiculous. So just get out of your houses. I know it's Corona time, but this is a time that America is going to show. For the last 3 years, we have built an image again of America that was good when Obama. I don't care if people think it's political or not. We have built a good image again. We had this good image of Americans, and we're kind of becoming a beacon again. And then Orange Man gets in there, and we haven't had a minute of peace since that dude has got in that White House. We haven't had a minute of peace. So this is General Cities. So we have to get out. Our hate and our ignorance got Donald Trump elected. He promoted building a wall of fear, and people bought it and loved it. And look, their immaturity and their ignorance and their hatred and their violence voted him in. Our love and our compassion, our determination as American people, as we the people, is going to get his ass kicked out of that White House. I don't know what we got to do before the election and what's going to happen, just so everyone keeps an eye on this. Trump is going to get all of his Trumpers. Because they're already trying to do it in Michigan. They're trying to hold up in Michigan. They're going to start trying to build barriers, and they're going to try and keep all the southern Michigan people, meaning black people and Muslims, because in Dearborn, Michigan is the most Muslim people in the world. In the country, Dearborn, Michigan. All those things are South Michigan. North Michigan people, really, you got to listen to this. The North Michigan people in the peninsula don't want them southern people coming up to their hearts. They're going to start holding up. And they're going to start saying, we want no federal government and no one to tell us who's allowed up on this said hill, whatever hill they take. That's what's going to start happening. And Donald Trump's going to keep promoting that because he knows he's going to lose the election, and he's going to try and break up this country even more before he does. So that's what I want people to hear. I don't know what to go read about that. It's the truth. Just open your eyes and see that we are run by a man who is the most spiritually sick human being I've ever laid eyes on. And I've been around neo-Nazis for a long period of time. He is the most spiritually sick human being I've ever laid eyes on in my life. That's what I want to tell everyone to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I tell them. I suggest that. I don't tell anyone to do anything. I suggest these things.
Prior to the recent events that kind of happened with George Floyd in Minneapolis, what have you been doing? You said you were out in LA. What were you doing before this? Not that this topic isn't important, but it's kind of recent, and so I know that that's your big focus right now with a lot of people. As you know, it's an important topic. But prior to this event, were you kind of doing similar stuff in LA, or is this something that is kind of new?
No, I was actually working on a couple, TV projects and working on a couple other, some other civil rights organizations, just doing some side work. But after Corona hit, this is and I really think this is why God is my higher powers made me this active as because I am not going to stop till we win this thing, legitimately. Is that during the Corona, the 2.5 months, I cocooned in my home. And I've read, I just read and watched and studied and really got into my recovery more, and knowing that God has a purpose for me. The purpose is to help other addicts. As I just kept studying and reading and watching so many police videos of them pulling people over and trying to trick them to let them search their car. We have the right to say no to cops to search in our car. So just watch those type of videos and watch the treatment, watch the bully tactic, watch the I'm better than you tactics that they use. It should make you all sick to your stomach. Then to know that they do that more to black people who can't say anything still because, who's going to trust them? This is the sad story. Who's going to trust a black dude on a stand over our cop who's going to sit there and definitely tell us the truth? Not going to, because they never smudge their police reports on shit that they do, right? But a jury will always tend to believe the guy with the bad. We're stuck. We need to take the power away from them so we don't have to fight with them anymore in court.
When your book came out, it was 2014, correct?
My book came out in 2010.
2010. Okay, maybe I read it in 2014. May have my dates mixed up, but since you wrote your book, how many people have you connected with based off of that book that you have shown them that they can change and do different, based off of, kind of the same background that you came from? You kind of got recruited into a gang of some sort, and you were looking for an outlet, and people who kind of sought you out. Um, have you, since you wrote your book, have you changed many lives based off that? Have you had people that you've connected with, or?
I have. I have. I don't have a. I don't have a number, right? But I mean, I have probably over 10,000 because I have like a. If you want to reach me because of my book, you go to frankmeeink.com, which was a friend of mine made that website. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. He made a website for me so people can get a hold of me. I probably have 10,000 emails in there. I'd probably say 15% of them are death threats, and then all the rest are people that are just like, "Oh, thank you for pointing this out." And a lot of the times, it's more people that are getting clean and sober than the racist, or guys that were just being thugs that were then being racist who like my book. My book's been passed around a couple prisons here and there, and a lot of guys will get a hold of me and be like, I'm a Latino male, and I wouldn't join your gang, but I get you, and thank you for talking about recovery at the end, because I talk about not the recovering of racist. I mean, I you recover for something. When I think of recovery, I think of recovering from drugs and alcohol. And there's also a time to have relapses, right? I've relapsed over my years. I've never relapsed back to racism. Never. So I don't really recover, you know what I mean? Because I've never had a slip and go, oh my God, I really just want to say the N word right now. Like, that doesn't happen. Or I would have to have a brain injury. Seriously, I'd have to have a serious brain injury for me to ever say the N word again at somebody, or even say it, period. Because it's something I don't say.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there are a lot of people that have connected with me. Right? There's a lot of sports fans, a lot of people that love the hockey part of it, and I probably connect more in the last 10 years since my book in coaching hockey than I did with even my book. Because I mean, just think about it, if you're one of my players, I'm going to be coaching you for at least 5 to 6 months here. So you have me every day in your life for 5 or 6 months. So, I come up with 1,000 great slogans. I'm always putting slogans around the ring for the boys and the girls.
Yeah,
and we won 10 national championships, so I'm doing something all right. Or I was. I don't coach anymore.
Nice, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think a big part of your story is things that people struggle with across the nation for similar to the way I think you would probably describe the neo Nazis as a form of a gang or a cult per se, and I think that happens no matter what gang or cult it is. They seek young men and women out who are kind of looking to fit in and belong to somebody, and they kind of use that hate to recruit them, and kind of like you said in your book, make you feel wanted because that's something that you had never had as a child, and unfortunately, the bad people per se got a hold of you before the good people because you didn't have a real good experience with sports and whatnot, kind of growing up in a tough neighborhood. So, and it sounds like that happens with a lot of people, despite what race they are or what gang they kind of get recruited to. Obviously, some parts, I think black people struggle with that more so than white people in different areas and whatnot. But
when you feel you can't make it alone, right? And you've society have left people to feel that way, and sometimes it's just they feel that way. Period. But I remember, especially when you deal with people like me, especially I can only speak for myself, but I've seen it a lot. And when you deal with people that are in gangs or people that are bullies or terrorists or neo-Nazis or KKK, whatever, people that are in the police, you're dealing with the same type of person, and that's a person with egomaniac with no self-esteem. And that's what makes people really, really dangerous in this world. When they are egomaniacs with no self-esteem, they are the guys that will punch you in the face for treading on their sneaker for disrespecting. Right? And I was like that. And police are like that. Respect my badge, right? I mean, if you don't respect their badge, you hurt their ego, they smack you upside the head with a billy club. Just do the same thing. Just was neo-Nazi and with a baseball bat.
Since you were a kid, because you were growing up as a teenager in what was it, the 80s, the 70s, the 80s?
I know, for the teenager, for me?
Yes.
90s, dog. What are you talking about?
Okay, I didn't know. I couldn't remember, but Would you say that things have gotten better or worse in your opinion?
Um, People wise, I really believe that we've gotten stronger together. I really believe as people, as institutions, and as this country, have done nothing. Nothing. Right? Because people put up that we thought we were roped a dope to thinking that racism was dead in this country when Obama got elected. Right? We got roped a dope. We thought, racism's over. It's not. There's a whole system that's been waiting there, make money off of people in poverty, keep them down in poverty, and to keep them in the prisons. We have to. I want to stress this more to get this word out. I mean, more and more, we should not have private prison in this country, and as long as we do, we have to have police that continue to feed those private prisons.
You're
Give it. So it's just something we need to do as a country. Is to stop the drug laws. I keep getting back to this point because it'd be so important to pound this home. Rid of the drug laws that allows them to kick in the doors, even the innocent people sometimes, and kill them. Please do research. There are many of cases where cops kicked in wrong doors. People who are done nothing wrong are going to defend themselves when their door gets kicked in, and then they get blasted by the police. And then even sometimes they even get arrested for resisting arrest after they kicked in the goddamn wrong door, but because someone shot at them. Now, I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. We need to stay out of our homes, stay out of our lives, only be welcome when you are welcomed into a situation. Do not pull cars over anymore with the expectation of checking that car for cocaine, heroin. I don't care. I do care about the drug part, but I care more about the abuse that the police have used that than I do care about the kid who is using drugs, because he will get sober God's time if we can help him. And if the police don't help, only shame the guy more. And anyway, I keep going over the same things, but I just really want to pound this home.
Yeah, no, man, absolutely. This is kind of your time to talk, and you're using your platform. I respect everyone's opinion who is has a drive and a mission that's peaceful, and it doesn't sound like you have any hatred in your heart. You're just kind of sticking up for your people. So I totally understand. I'm here to do some listening and talking as well, but.
Well, we're all here to put the ladder back in the water. Just remember, we're all here to put that ladder back in the water so everyone can get in this life raft with us. No more leaving stragglers. And if the civil servants want to do their job, they should get out of the lifeboat and push us. Right? That's what civil servants do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just glad to see that you went through some struggles and trials as a young adult, and you changed your life around. And I think you've had a positive influence on people. I mean, you had a big influence on me, even though I didn't come from any type of that background. I just loved reading your story, and I thought it was really neat, and I appreciated it. I was going to ask you, the TV projects that you're working on, do they correlate to the things that you're kind of talking about now, or is that something completely different?
Anything for me to be successful in this world has to deal with what I'm really good at, and that is authentic civil rights. And I say that very authentic civil rights. And every time I tried to pull away from this industry, as it is an industry, every time I've tried to pull away and go another direction, coaching hockey, radio, I worked in pro hockey. Every time I feel that my higher power is this is not what I want you to do. They always I'll be super successful and be very happy, and then it'll crumble for some reason, and it's always me at the bottom again, going, all right, God, all right, Hashem, what do you want to do? And I'll give you another great thing I could probably show you one day. Because I just called God Hashem, right? And that is his name. Hashem means the name. It's the name of God. Jewish, and I found out years ago I was Jewish by my last name is Jewish, right? I was like, oh my God, what a crazy coincidence, predicament. I mean, I'm now finding out from a rabbi that I'm Jewish just by my last name, not even by DNA. The name Meeink, Meeink, is an old Jewish Dutch name. It's small. We were a small tribal family, and the only people in the world that have our last name are these Minks. We're the only ones. There's nobody else has our last name in the world. It was this little tribe of Jews from Germany. So I do my DNA test to find out that I'm 5.2% Islamic Jewish. Now I got a divorce a couple years ago. My son is actually here with me now. And children go back and forth between me and their mother, and great, relationship now, and but the girl I'm dating now, I dated an Israeli. I dated a girl right from Israel. I'm sorry. So what a change in the world, right? What a change.
Yeah,
I go to
absolutely.
services and I learn about all my Jewish holidays, which we got a shit ton. Got a shit ton of holidays.
For your book, for those who don't know or never heard of it, it was called Autobiography of a Recovering Skinhead: The Frank Meek Story as Told by Jody Roy, PhD. So when you wrote your book, did someone seek you out to write that story, or is that something you felt you did on your own and you sought someone to help you write that?
Well, did everything in reverse, or things happened in reverse. I didn't do everything in reverse. So I started speaking out after the Oklahoma City bombing. Just speaking out. I mean, I'm a very uneducated human being, so I don't write books myself, right? So I never even attempted it. I just people had told me to come to schools, and I started speaking to kids, and I started noticing like right away a lot of men of all faiths and all backgrounds who were now on my side because of my change were kind of guiding me in life. And I remember they were like, you know, don't just go up on stage and talk about how you used to do bad things. Like, talk about why you don't do bad things anymore and the payoff, right? And so I got that niche where I was like, I could do like the way I can communicate with the crowd in a funny way, so it's authentic. And so people started guiding me, and they're just like, Frank, stay authentic, be you, and talk about, you know, not just about the bad stuff, but like really highlight where God has stepped in your life. And I'm not a fanatic, so I don't want people to run away from me. You know, say God, but I mean, I do have a truly belief in a higher power that truly does love me and wants the best for me. So I have to have that in my life every day. As I had that feeling in my life is changing. You know, I noticed I opened doors for people a little bit more. I said thank you a little bit more. I was polite. I was kind. Man, all that stuff. As I made that change, it came over me. Now I battled in and out with addiction, and addiction has been, it's all my mom died of a heroin overdose. I mean, my father, I mean, he's a runner and gunner, as they say. I mean, I just grew, and oh, I'm glad I am sober. I am now, and it's my conditioning for what I do for today that I stay that way, and so far I think I'm going pretty good. And if anyone's going to take anything out of my book, I want to take something out of my book that no matter how many times you get knocked down, get back up. Always get back up. Don't end it. Don't think the world's better without you. The day that you were born is the day that God said the world cannot go on without you. Stay here as long as you can to make this place a better place. And I just started to gravitate towards that feeling of purpose. Life is full. Life is full.
Yeah.
One thing I'll tell you about this before I have to go here is one of the greatest philosophers, greatest American philosophers. I'll niche them down to just American philosophers, not world philosophers. But one of the greatest American philosophers of our time, Rocky Balboa said, life isn't about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. That's life. Get and pick yourself back up no matter what you're going through, struggle and addiction, depression. I promise you, pick back up to service to others, trust in God, and your life will get better. That's where my message is. And it takes an everyday approach. It can't be because I wrote a great Twitter post 3 days ago, I'm such a great authentic civil rights person. No, am I out there right now making sure that my whiteness is going to be heard for my brothers and sisters on this planet with me?
Definitely, man. Before I let you go, we can wrap it up pretty soon. I know you said you got to get to a protest out in LA. I had read this before, and I wasn't sure if it was true. There's a lot of stuff out there, and so I just had to ask too. American History X, the movie. That movie was based on your story, or it had a pretty decent conjunction. Is that true or false?
It's a hard, I, my heart of hearts, and now this to court if I had to, but I don't ever. This will never be a court case. My heart of hearts, and a lot of people that I know's heart of hearts that were involved with me at the time writing of the movie American History X. People know that people that were writing that heard my story. They heard another guy's. They heard two other people's stories that I know of. they kind of put them all together to make the story without paying none of us, which is fine. It's a story, it's a movie. But I know that the Derek Vineyard guy, everyone was like, "That's Frank." Like that. Even back then, everyone was like, "That's so Frank." Like that, the way he was, the way he carried himself, that was me. And the whole story of going to prison. I mean, the movie got made in '97, not in '90. It was made again in '97, early March '97. I got, just so everyone knows, I got out of the movement telling that same story, the story that's been factually fact checked now by fact writers and people in our publishing company. There's people that have gotten a hold of me through my book that were in prison with me. They're like, "Oh my God, dude, I so remembered you were such a baller," right? So that all happened to me. And that's kind of what and only me and another guy were telling our stories in the '90s. Me and a guy named TJ. They just kind of went to TJ and went to me and find a little bit of the story and based the guy. It's even been, I mean, it's even a trivia question on IMDb. It's one of the IMDb trivia questions in their game. American History X based on a true person, and the answer is yes. It says me. I heard that from Tony Kaye, who was the director. So at the end of the day, I'll say it's not about me, because it's just, let the writers have the writers. Let them do what they had to do. My story is so much bigger. Everyone's story is so much bigger than what someone in an hour and 38, whatever it was, hour and 36-minute movie. My life is so much more gut wrenching than that. They don't talk about the starvation. When people ask about why did I really get into the neo-Nazis, it's because I was starving. Starving. I would do anything to survive. I wish they would talk more about that, because that's the basis of why I did everything I did to the extremes, because I just didn't want to be starving anymore.
Yeah, man, absolutely. That's really sad to hear that was a big part of your reason is you were trying to fit in and survive and feel loved. But obviously things are a lot different now, and you're doing a lot of good things, man. I just had to ask that because it's a huge movie. It's something I love that movie. I had watched it before, and then when I read your book, and then I'd read some articles that said this was based on his life essentially, and indirectly. And I think you kind of answered the question for me. It is and it isn't, but you're not really looking for the fame. And so just wanted to ask that, because there's obviously a lot of similarities. But like most people, I think a lot of people watch movies instead of read books, and so I kind of wanted to ask that because I've done both. But I appreciate you coming on, man. I know you got a jet. We've talked about it, but I guess I just wanted to say for anyone who is trying to follow you, if you want to mention your website again or your book, if that would be good, or anything they can do to follow you. I know I follow you online, so.
No, yeah, you can all follow me out to a protest wherever you live. That's where I want you to go. Don't buy my book. Don't watch any of my videos. Just go out to a protest and stand with other Americans. Let's keep this sleeping giant that's now awake. Let's keep it right. Keep it awake, and let's really put a change to something that is so majorly important, and it needs to change today. Like, we need changes to affect now. Police need to be put back in their civil service positions that they were supposed to be in, and that they messed up. So please, if you want to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. But I don't want people wasting their time reading my book right now. I want them out protesting.
Awesome. Well, yeah, man, unless you got anything else for me, I think that's it. I really appreciate you coming on, and I'm looking forward to stay connected. And I hope you're safe in your protests, and continue to stick up for your people, man.